This is the Wizard News. On the holiday known by many as Thanksgiving, but recognized by Native American communities as the National Day of Mourning, Indigenous activists and scholars are advocating for the recognition of the Wampanoag's true history. They say that must be grounded in the fact that they existed far before and long after the Pilgrims' first harvest feast. You can't argue with people coming together and celebrating family, good fortune, and being thankful. That's an important holiday to have. Scholar and Mashpee Wampanoag Tribe member Paula said. But it is also a platform that we, as Indigenous people, have to step on and remind the people of the significance of our story and the myths that are perpetuated by the Thanksgiving holiday. The Plymouth colonists and the Native American Wampanoag people shared an autumn harvest feast that is acknowledged as one of the first Thanksgiving celebrations in the colonies in 1621, according to the History Channel. The History Channel says that the Pilgrims invited the Native Americans to the feast, but that part is a myth. The Pilgrims were celebrating their first harvest when they fired off muskets repeatedly, a form of entertainment for the settlers. Hearing the blast, the Wampanoag thought it was a threat. The supreme leader, Massasoit Osamikin, assembled a small army of approximately 90 warriors and approached the settlement, much to the surprise of the Pilgrims. After de-escalating the situation, the Pilgrims and the Wampanoag feasted together, though historical texts do not indicate what they might have eaten besides deer hunted by the Wampanoag, as Paula writes in an introduction to Of Plymouth Plantation. The contemporary holiday perpetuates the myths of the Wampanoag and Pilgrim relations, Peters writes. It further buries the truths of kidnappings, pestilence, and subjugation, and ignores the scant details of the tense encounter. Peters said that the years leading up to the arrival of the Mayflower and the first harvest are just as important as what followed. The Pilgrims were aided by a couple of Indigenous men who remarkably knew how to speak English, including a man named Squanto. His acquired tongue was not a miracle, but a byproduct of tragedy. In 1614, he was part of a group of Native Americans lured onto a ship and sold into slavery in Spain. When he returned in 1619, his home village of Patuxet had been ravaged by a great plague. The settlers who came to that same land had to move decaying bodies to make the village that later became Plymouth. Peters said that story is rarely told and demonstrates an example of the erasure of Indigenous histories. That erasure exists in part to gloss over the ugly parts of American history, said Joseph Gaughan, an enrolled member of the Ani, Gros, Wantra tribal nation of Montana, and a professor at Harvard who researches the intersections of coloniality and mental health in American Indian communities. That can have an impact on those whose stories are not being told, he said. Although the Wampanoag and the Pilgrims did not exist as harmoniously as many are taught, many tribal members still take the holiday to celebrate family. Jordan Marie brings 3 white horses, Whetstone of the Lower Brule Sioux Tribe in South Dakota, said she hopes that as people sit with the truth, they feel inspired to take action. She suggested the following: changing language to reflect the history of the day by calling it truth-giving or thanks-taking, incorporating more indigenous foods into Thanksgiving meals, donate or participate in local action events. Source: USA Today, November 22nd, 2023.